Managed metadata is one of my favorite features in SharePoint, and I know developers who've never heard of it. Instead, they're using choice columns everywhere, which gets messy and can let bad data get in. We're going to go over plenty of examples today of choice versus managed metadata, and you can figure out what's best for what you're trying to do. Let's pretend I work at an electronics company, and I want to store which of my customers bought which phone brand and model. You could do that with choice columns by adding columns like this. Now, this seems fine. It does the job. When you pair choice columns together, if you're not careful, you can let some bad data get in. Watch this. If I go up here and click New, and I want to put that Annabelle Lee got an Apple iPhone, if I come down here and pick Apple, and I'm not paying attention, and then pick Galaxy, whoa, this is a problem. Because the Apple Galaxy doesn't exist. Apple doesn't make those. If you have relationships between your columns, like one depends on the other, there's a much better field for enforcing that than two choice columns. It's called Managed Metadata. Now, I'm not going to make it by clicking Add Column. Instead, I'm going to go up here to the gear, and then I'm going to navigate down to Site Information. And in Site Settings, I'm going to navigate to this area that says Site Columns, click that, and then there's this big Create button at the top where I can create columns here. Now, if you're wondering why I didn't just make my column by clicking Add Column here, there's a very good reason you should never use those. I'll explain at the end. I'm going to name this column Brand/Model, and I'm going to scroll down to Manage Metadata as my type. And then I'm going to scroll down to the very bottom where it says Customize Your Term Set. And then I'm going to open this little triangle and create terms. So at this level is where I create all my brands. So Apple, Samsung. And then in here, I can create subterms like iPhone, iPhone Plus, and all my other ones. And when I'm done with that, I'm going to scroll up here and select Display the entire path to the term in the field. Click OK. And now watch this. When I click New, instead of selecting one of these, I can come down here and click this Add Tag button. And look at that. I've got these options, and then I have sub options, and my whole problem of selecting Apple Galaxy, my users will never be able to do. And boom, how much more reliable is it when your data looks like this? Another benefit is, let's pretend my company also starts selling Motorola. Your users are gonna ask you to add that as another choice, because with choice fields, the user can't edit them. They always have to ask you to add new value. But Managed Metadata has such a convenient feature for this. Go back to our site settings here. If we scroll down to the column we made earlier called Brand Model, if we scroll down to the very bottom, there's an option saying Edit Using Term Set Manager. If we scroll down, you have this submission policy. When it's open, users can add terms from. This is going to allow your users to enter in their own data. They can add Google and Motorola themselves without heckling you. And if you're like, wait, that's too much freedom for them, you can add stakeholders here who are going to review their work before it's approved. So instead of the burden of changing or adding these values on you, now it's up to the admin. Now, there is one slight downside to Managed Metadata, which is in Power Automate, it totally works. It's just a little more complicated versus choice columns. They are a little simpler to work with in Power Automate. Thanks for watching. If you found that helpful, we have a full free training. The link is in the description. It goes into why I never use add columns, as well as some of the other features that make it so I only have to work a few hours instead of days because it's built right the first time. Check it out. We're really proud of it. It's really fast-paced.